break right now. Just wanted to talk about a book real quick. This is a book that I normally don't keep in my car, although, there are some books I have kept in my car in the past. It's not a good idea in the summertime in Texas, especially hardbacks, because they'll just come unglued with the heat. But this book I wanted to talk about, it's a book that I believe was published a couple years ago, originally in paperback, and I wanted to actually create like a longer review video on this, but it would just take me I just have too much to say, and there would be too much to pack in, so figure I'd just knock this one out here. John the Posthumous by Jason Schwartz. This book was published, I believe, in 2013 by OR Books. I'm not too familiar with them, but like kind of researching it, it seems like the original founder also worked with the on the press Four Walls, Eight Windows. That was a press back in the 80s and 90s that published really cutting edge literature, and I guess they kind of went defunct or got bought out by others. But this book is Jason Schwartz's second collection. The first one was called A German Picturesque, and that was published by Knopf, I think in the late 90s. So he hadn't really been too prolific. I've been waiting for this book for like an incredible amount of time. I admire this writer so much. He, to me, is probably one of the greatest writers out there right now. And the sad thing is that he's not really talked about too much that I can tell. But he writes in a style that is, I guess it's just doesn't really have any. It doesn't follow your standard story. I guess these are kind of billed as stories, but it's more like a collection of pieces. I wouldn't really call them prose poems. So they're kind of categorized into. Is that focusing? Yeah. Into a couple sections, and each section is fairly short pieces. But there's really not much plot going on here or characterization. I guess the main character is just the narrator himself, which we don't really know too much about. It is other than it's an observing presence who seems to be fascinated by things that are normally alien to most people. The time period that's discussed here is the 18th or 19th century. It almost seems like a lot of topics such as architecture, interior design, furniture, animals, murders, crimes against humanity. And these things are just all mixed up and kind of like interspersed among each other at the sentence level, so that these kind of observations are carried from sentence to sentence without much logical connection. So there's a lot of leaping going on. That mixed with the actual choices of words. A lot of these words that he chooses to use are words that you don't even know if they if they exist. I mean, in the past, maybe they are lost, part of a lost English from previous centuries, but they could also maybe be just completely made up. And that's the thing with this writer is somehow in the midst of that, uh, you know, he can still manage to pull you along and keep you reading just from, I would say, the tone or the the fascination that he has. It's a gentle voice. It's an intelligent voice. It is curious and is seeking of the truth, but it's also extremely alien. There's not anything like it. There's no personality like it that I've read. And the book itself ultimately coheres as something that I don't know if it would be literature so much as an art object itself. Like this book itself can be the artwork and can exist as, you know, a museum piece in and of itself. It just happens to be, instead of like, you know, the media that art uses is just words. Um, I'm thinking maybe Joseph Cornell's work, like, you know, the bird boxes, uh, things like that. But yeah, so hopefully we'll see more work by this writer, and hopefully he gets a little bit more recognition, because I see him following a certain line of intense, uh, I guess, intense involvement with. I don't know how to put it, but the unknown, in such that, you know, it follows a lineage from maybe Joyce to Beckett, and then from there you don't really see a whole lot of writers at the forefront just really pursuing a particular type of sensibility. But here I see that, and I can't imagine, you know, if this is the first time somebody reads this writer, if they would really get it. You know, I mean, the first time I read him, I actually read him in pieces because he'd been published in like some smaller magazines here and there. So, you know, you kind of get used to it. But being confronted with it all at once in a single work might be overwhelming. And I remember reading A German Picturesque. I was actually really excited when that book came out, because that was back when Knopf was publishing pretty amazing stuff in hardback. Uh, and then they kind of stopped. But yeah, I remember waiting for that book, and I got it, and I read it, and I was actually kind of put off because all those pieces working together was just too much. It was just too off-putting in a way, the style, and I can see how somebody kind of going into this writer's world for the first time might feel that way and might not really get too far, but yeah, it's something that I guess, you know, kind of grows on you, and um, it becomes something ultimately that I think is just an essential world that you can dip into, you know, periodically, once in a while. But yeah, those are my thoughts on this book. Just kind of rambling. Um, yeah, this is a book I'll return to over and over, but hopefully it's something you guys might be interested in, and may want to pick up. Or books, John the Posthumous.